Yeah, the recording has started.
Okay, so let me share the screen and we can start. So yeah, this is gonna be the last one of the Ink workshops. This is gonna be focused on the front-end development of Ink. I believe in the rest of what you did was like an intro of Ink, and then you did like a deep dive on Ink. So it was more theoretical. This is gonna be mainly practical. I'm just gonna have 2 slides, and then I'm gonna jump into the code. If you wanna follow in the same time with the code, feel free and ask me any questions that you have. If you just wanna listen and after try it yourself, the same. Like you can stop, ask me any questions, and we can do that like more informal way. Like I will be free to stop. The whole workshop I think is gonna be like 1 hour, something like this. So if we have questions, we can extend more time, no problem. So yeah, let's go. It's gonna be about the front-end development for Ink. You already know Ink, but just in case someone just arrived here today, Ink is a smart contracts programming language. Basically, it's based on Rust. With all the benefits that means, Rust is a smart contract that is used not only on blockchain, it's used in the whole IT industry, it's used by Google, it's used by Microsoft, etc., because of the safety, performance. So you compare it with Solidity, it has a lot more developers, a lot more toolings, and yeah, more benefits than it. It's also Polkadot native smart contract languages, which means that certain things, like right now, Polkadot is improving a lot in having the Solidity and EVM compatibility, but there are certain things that things are doing it better because it was born to be a Polkadot smart contract language. For example, if you want to do a cross-chain communication with your smart contract, you can do it very easily with Ink. If you want to do first in your project, you want to do like a smart contract, and then you want to escalate that into have your own parachain because it's in Rust, and the parachain development with the Polkadot SDK is in Rust. The transition is way easier. The migration of data is way easier, and like is that's the whole point of being Polkadot native. That is easy to work in the Polkadot ecosystem. Also, for the V6 version, one of the top things is that it runs into the new Polka VM. And one of the things that we've been spending, especially our core development, David, that you might know him, has spent a lot of effort the last months, was to have Solidity and MetaMask compatibility on Ink. What that means? That means that in your Ink smart contract language program, you can compile, you can build it to have Solidity compatibility, Solidity metadata compatibility, which means that you can use it with the EVM tooling, you can use it with the EVM wallets like MetaMask or the tooling like Hardcat, etc., etc. Yeah, just 2 lines of who I am. I'm a software engineer. I'm a co-founder of Rock. Rock, it's a company that was born 2 years ago, mainly by Polkadot developers that we've been building on Polkadot for more than 4 years. We are active in the Polkadot ecosystem. We built PopCLI. I believe that's the tool that you have used in the previous workshops to run your smart contract. It's also very useful if you want to run a whole chain, like with just one command, you can generate a chain from a template, and you can set up everything and run it with another command. We're also founding members of the Ink Alliance. Ink Alliance is a group of companies and a group of individuals that are working in the core development of Ink and also the maintenance of Ink and the promotion of the language. And also core maintainers of Polkadot testnet, Paseo. We've been, I think it's the last 2 years, the testnet of Polkadot is Paseo, and we build it, and we're one of the core maintainers of it. So yeah, the last slide, and then we can jump into the code, the front-end tooling on Ink. I'm very happy of the status now in the front-end tooling in the last year and a half because it has improved a lot. It was complicated 2 years ago to build your own front-end application with Ink, but right now we have Ink-specific SDK, we have React frameworks that help us to build the front-end application that I'm going to show you in today's workshop. The first two Ink-specific SDK are very new, but they already have the stable versions. One is the Polkadot API SDK Ink, the PAPI SDK Ink, and the other one is Dedot. These two are like less than 2 years new and already have a stable release. I already have some production-ready dApps using it. The third one is the old Polkadot.js. If some of you has been in Polkadot for a while, you probably have experience or have used Polkadot.js. Polkadot.js is still maintenance, it's still used, so and is compatible with the latest changes in Ink with this package API contract. So yeah, I recommend you to use one of the first two, but you can also use the Polkadot.js. For building React, we have Inkaton, which is a full stack boilerplate, and Reactive Dot, which is a reactive library for building Substrate frontends and Ink frontends. For this workshop, we're going to use Inkaton, which under the hood, it uses the Reactive Dot and the Polkadot API SDK Ink. So you will be able to see all of these three in action. Other tooling, as I mentioned, PopCLI, I'm one of the main developers there. I believe you have been using it in the previous workshop. So if you have any feedback or you have any questions, I will be very happy to receive that feedback because we are always trying to improve the tool. And where to deploy the smart contracts? Again, that's something you probably seen in the previous classes. But right now there is not a lot of parachains where you can deploy your smart contract. There's gonna be way more in the next months. But the recommended testnet is the Paseo Packet Hub. For the workshop, we are gonna use just a local node that we will run, but I can show you how to deploy in Packet Hub. So yeah, let's start. As I say, we are gonna use Inkaton. You can scan this QR code, or you can basically go to the GitHub, CEO Labs Inkaton, and then we can use this template to create our repository. So just to show you, this is the project Inkaton. This is basically a full stack. We'll have the full stack that boilerplate for Ink smart contracts. So that means that a boilerplate that will run already with an example, and then we can add our changes. So we click here, use this template, create a new repository. And here we just can put a name here, my frontend. And a description, and we can create the repository. And then you can clone that and start working locally with the template. I already have that here. So let's take a look. That's what you will have when you have the template. Let me do it a bit bigger. Okay. So we have one folder for the contracts part. So this is, as I say, is just a full stack tool that will help us to build the contracts and the frontend. In the previous workshops, you already know how to build and deploy a contract. So you have already done that and you have a contract that is deployed. You probably can skip this folder here and focus only on the frontend, which is going to be the UI application that uses the contract that you have deployed. I'm going to show you the whole process in this workshop. But again, if you already have the contract deployed and built, you can just skip this part and focus only on the frontend folder. If you open the README, we have here like step by step how to set up everything, which is very handy. We can, it tells you what to do at the beginning, what you need to install, how to install things, and then it goes step by step how to build the contract, how to deploy the contract, how to connect the front end to local, etc., etc. So let's go step by step. Let's start in the root of this project, installing all the packages that we need, running bourne install. And then we go to the frontend folder and we can run the frontend. So when the frontend runs, it's running, compiling, compile. Yeah, you can see. So with the frontend run, just with two commands, the install and then the run, we can already have this boilerplate. This boilerplate, what it does, it connects to the chain. It has a button to connect my wallet. It's querying information for the chain that is connected. So right now I connected to the Passed Hub. I can connect to another chain, POM network, and it's querying the information from there. And it's querying the information from a smart contract, the state of the smart contract, the address of the smart contract, and a button to call this smart contract. So you can see that that's very powerful because with only taking that template, you don't have to build, you don't have to write a lot of code to connect to the chain. You don't have to write a lot of code to connect to your wallet because that's already there. And then you have the example of how to interact with the chain, with the blockchain, and how to interact with the smart contract. But this is what we're gonna look for. I'm gonna show you how to add a new chain here and how to deploy a contract in this new chain. So you see how easy it is if in the future we wanna add Polkadot or we wanna add Kusama, or you wanna add another parachain, and then after that we are gonna do like some changes in the code to interact with another smart contract that is not the Flipper smart contract. So yeah, let's come back to the code. As you can see by default, this comes already with a smart contract, which is the Flipper smart contract. The Flipper smart contract, you probably seen that in the first workshop, is the basic one in Ink, is the Hello World smart contract for Ink. It's just a contract that has stores a value, true or false, and then you initialize that with one value, and then you can get this value or you can flip the value. So if it's true, make it false. If it's false, make it true. So let's build the contract and let's run the local node and let's add a new chain here, which is gonna be the local node. And let's gonna connect and interact with this smart contract that we're gonna deploy in the local node. So we come back to the README and we just follow the steps here. In the second step, it tells us how to we build and deploy the contract on local node. If in the past you have used PopCLI, you see that you can already deploy the contract and run the ink node and deploy the contract. If you come here and run pop up, give it the arguments which can be false or true, this is already gonna deploy your contract and run in the background the ink node. But let's do everything with the Inkaton following these steps, so it's gonna be easy for you to follow. So we have to install ink node, downloading it the binary from this link, and then we're gonna make it available to this path with this command. I already done that. If you are doing that, like this is gonna take like a few seconds only. Then we have to install cargo contract, which is what the Inkaton is using under the hood to build the contract. So when we have these steps, we can go to contracts folder and run run build, and this is gonna build all the contracts that we have. In this case, we only have Flipper. After in the second part of the workshop, I'm gonna show you how to do with another contract. And the same with the node. Now we can just add run node, and this is gonna run the ink node locally in this port 9944. So we can check that the node is running if we go to the Polkadot.js app. So here we can see that the node is running, that it has some accounts, that it has this account has already some balances. Maybe it will be good if I share the links that I'm talking about in the chat so you can have them. This is the tool, the Inkaton, and this is what I'm using to check that the node is running and see all the accounts that I have here for testing, Alice, Bob, and which has the balance. So let's go back to the code. We already done that. What we're gonna do now is generate the puppy types, which means that it's gonna take the metadata from the contracts and it's gonna add that into the ink SDK. So I go to the contracts and run this, boom, run coaching. But it's gonna do that, as I say, it's gonna read the metadata, generate the descriptor. So then in the front end, I can interact with the smart contract very easily. Okay, so now that I have that, I have everything, I can deploy the contract to running a bound run deploy. Again, another command, and I will deploy this Flipper smart contract into the local node that I have. Initialize. I don't know what that error means. Something I might have changed, but you probably won't see this error. But the deployment of the contract was successful. We can see here the address of the smart contract, and we can see that all the information has been exported into a file. We can check that here in the network. This is the in node that is running, so we can see all the events that the in node is executing. So we can see that the contract has been instantiated already, and the address is the same that we've seen there in the console. So now let's change the frontend let's go back to the frontend for first time, and let's change the information to add a new chain. Add a new chain, which is the local node. So this is the frontend. In the frontend, which is already the template that we can start using and we start modifying. Here we have some configuration files in lib, which we can check here. The constants here, for example, this is the different information on how to get tokens. And here is where we have to add the new chain address. So for the Flipper smart contract, which we have deployed in development, we uncomment this and we uncomment this. And then how to add a new chain is as easy as coming here into the config of the reactive dot and here uncomment this and add here let me show. If in the future you want to add the Polkadot chain or something, it's as easy as to run this to regenerate the puppy types. So we run bounce puppy add W, and then we add the Polkadot WebSocket, and we add Polkadot here. And then here it's as easy as one more in the list, which will be the new chain, which can be Polkadot or whatever you want to add. And Polkadot, and here the URL of Polkadot, and you already have a new chain added into your template. You are already connected to a new chain because the template will manage everything under the hood. So coming back to the website now, we see that we have a new chain that we just connected now, which is the development chain. We see the address of the chain of the smart contract that we just deployed, that we deployed here. So we can see that it's the same address. And we can see that the flip state, we initialize the contract with true. Let's call the contract and see what happens. So we connect the wallet. That's already something that we don't have to build ourselves because it's in the template. So we can connect the wallets. It detects all the wallets that I have in the browser, which in this case is Polkadot.js, is Talisman, and is Polkagate. So I say I want to connect with the Polkadot JS, and then in the other screen, I can see what accounts I want to connect, which is the account test and Alice. I have Alice here, and I have the account test. So let's connect Alice. I can see my balance here, and then I can interact with the smart contract calling the message flip, which what it's gonna do is flip this value that is in the storage of the contract. So if I have run that, now I have to type the password. And voila, we see that we have already interact with the smart contract that we just deployed on the local node, and we can query the state and we can interact with it. Yeah, that's the first part. I'm gonna move to the second part, which is a bit more exciting because we are gonna use our own smart contract and we are gonna replace information here. But if anyone has any question at this point, feel free to ask me. Okay, so for the second part, what I'm gonna do is to add the ERC20 token. So I share here the link if we want. This is one of the examples that we have in the ink example repository on GitHub. You can check the rest. There are very useful examples. We have the ERC20, which is the famous Solidity contract, but in raw in ink. We have the flipper that we already seen. We have a multisig. We have I don't know some. I mean, we have like a example of a cross contract call, XCM call, and basic contract like different ones. I suggest you to check. And if you want to see like a specific example, feel free to come here to issues and open an issue, and we will create one. Or feel free to create a pull request and we will review and include that if it's interesting enough to have a new example. So yeah, let's add here the ERC20. If you have pop CLI installed in your system, it's as easy as going to the contracts folder to source, and you can run here pop new contract, and this is gonna show you the different examples that pop CLI supports. So we can go to ERC, and here we can take the ERC20. We call it ERC20. And this will already create for us the ERC20 token here. So again, what we have to do, as we did before, was to build the contracts. We can run here in contracts the born run build. So first, I have to add the contract in the cargo toml of the contracts. So here, I'll have to add ERC20 token that we just add. So when I run now, born run build, it's gonna build all the contracts that we have here, which in this case is the flipper contract that was already built and the ERC20 that it might take a bit more to build. Okay, so in the meantime that is building, I can show you how we can customize more this screen that we have here from the template. For example, we can go here. So that's the structure of the frontend. We have different components. This, for example, is the footer. That's what it shows here. We can replace that into build for Polkadot Africa, removing all the stuff. And then I run it, and it already shows that here. We can go to improve the header here. We have here a logo. We can go maybe replace this logo with the, I think I have here on Twitter, the Polkadot Africa one, this one. So we can go here and say, okay, let's change the by default and use this Polkadot Africa logo. So this will show us here. I want to have that in a circular way. So we can ask. I'm using Cursor with us AI here. So you can ask something here to the AI that says, make the logo circular. And it shows you how you can just, with one change, you can make the logo circular, which is super cool. And then you can see like, oh, now the logo is a circular one. We can also change a bit more here the information. Let's check example for the Polkadot Africa workshop. We can remove all this stuff that talks about docs, GitHub, Telegram, have something plain like this. I mean, yeah, you can customize as that's the example. You can customize that wherever you want. It's still building, so let's go. Let's see a bit more the front end. That's the main. That's the first part of the structure of the front end, which, as we can see, we have the account select, the connect button, and the change selector. This is something I'm gonna leave because it's something that takes a lot of work to do. You wanna do stuff from scratch to connect with a blockchain and to connect with your wallet, and it's already something that we have. App account. So let's remove the part of the interacting with the chain because we don't really want. What we want is to interact with the smart contract. So we remove that, and then we can see now. This is Flipper on only the smart contract interaction. Yeah. Okay. Another question? Some question? No. While this is building.
Yeah. So I don't know. For the benefit of those that joined late, if you can do like a 5 minutes rundown of the beginning part, right? Not the part where you're explaining what ink was about, but okay, how did you set up the front end and add a contract to it, right? Is that possible? Just a review.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know you cloned that repository, right? That was the first step. Incarton repository.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I share
Okay.
here the Incarton
So from
repository,
that point,
which you can fork it. Or yeah, from that point you have here the use this template, which basically you can create a new repository from here. You add the name that you want for the repository name. And then when you create the repository, that's gonna be for your account. In your account, you already, well, let's try. Frontend example of a front. And then if I create that repository, that's gonna be already on my GitHub. And I already gonna have all the template that if I just run this, I already gonna have something that is interacting with a blockchain and interacting with a contract deploy. So from that, you can clone this and have that locally to start working. I'm gonna share here the link again in case someone has joined later and cannot see the chat. But it's as easy as that. Then if you wanna add a new contract, coming back to the code here, to the second question, you can go here. So in this repo, that's the boilerplate that you have. We have contracts and frontend. So you want to add a new contract, you just basically need to come here and add a new contract in the source. I have add for this workshop, I have add the ERC20 token. Yeah, the ERC20 smart contract. And then when you run born real build, what this tool is gonna do is to run build all the smart contracts that you have here. So you will keep going with the steps. So I can show you more of how we did at the beginning of how to add a new smart contract. Then we will have to regenerate the types, the puppy types, which basically means what it's gonna do is to parse all the metadata and generate the types for this ERC20 that we have had, or whatever contracts you wanna add here. And to see everything is good, we can see that the contract has been built in Target, Inc. We see here that ERC20 and the flipper has been built. We have all these different files, and the flipper too. This is the bytecode. This is the file that we'll use to deployment, and this is the plain metadata that the frontend is gonna use to generate these types. And then with this code engine, we have I'll show you now how it works, how to type more. But what we have done here is to generate the descriptors of the contract for the Polkadot API SDK. So okay, now we have the ERC20. So we want to deploy this ERC20 that we just built and add. To do that, we need to go to the scripts here. We have a deploy script. This is what it runs when I run run deploy. As we can see here, it's still is only focused on deploy the flipper smart contract. So let's change this for the ERC20 smart contract. So let's replace the flipper here with ERC20. Let's replace that here. Oh no, sorry, here, ERC20. And then it already says, and here, ERC20. We replace all with flipper with ERC20. And then we see here that is complaining, init value doesn't exist in ERC20. What that means, that's because we have generated these descriptors using the metadata. So the SDK, it will help us during development and telling us what we should use. Why is this init value doesn't exist? If we open here the flipper contract, which is the one that we are replacing now, when in the constructor, it has this new and it has an init value, which is a Boolean, true or false. For the ERC20, which is the one that we are using now, this new, it doesn't have the init value. It has a total supply, which is a U256. Therefore, here, when we want to instantiate when we want to deploy the ERC20 token, we have to change that with total supply. And then now what is complaining is, you are passing a Boolean and we need a fixed size array, which is the definition of the U256. So let's give it a value here. That's some format like this. We give a 1,000. The total supply is gonna be 1,000, and then this is how it looks for the fixed size arrays that is requesting. Yeah. So we see now the compiler say everything looks fine. You have the new with total supply, which is basically, this is the smart contract in Rust. So this is what it is. So this is what we see the new function looks like. So now we can deploy the ERC20 token. Okay, so we see that the ERC20 token has been deployed, and this is the address where it has been deployed, 0x12. We can, as we did before, we can go here and we can check the events, and we see, oh yeah, this has been this smart contract instantiate with 0x12, blah, blah, blah. I see one comment, must is use TypeScript for frontend? You can use TypeScript, you can use JavaScript. Here I'm using TypeScript, which is, I don't know, I like the TypeScript more because it's with it's forced you to use the types. So it's, I guess it's more safe, or I'm more used to that, but you can use JavaScript too. Okay, so now we have the smart contract already deployed. So let's change this frontend to interact with the ERC20 instead of the Flipper contract. For that, what we have to do is to forget about these contracts and go to the frontend again, the frontend folder. Here we can see the skeleton of the page, how it looks like. So here is the contract card, which is where it's the interaction with the contract happens. We open this and then we can see here where is all the interaction happening, where is querying the contract, where is the method that makes the flip, and then it shows the button called flip and flip state, which is basically this square here. So let's replace everything here with the ERC20 that we just deployed and we are using. So come here, Flipper, let's use ERC20. It complains that ERC20 doesn't exist in deployment. So let's go to this deployments page and see what's happening. So we are exporting Flipper, but we are not exporting the ERC20 token. So let's export that too. Instead of Flipper, we are using now the ERC20. All of this, let's change the name of that. Let's change the name of that. All of this has been generated by the Inkaton when we were building and deploying the smart contract, so we don't have to worry about that. So let's export. We have exporting Flipper, so let's export ERC22 contracts.erc20, and here we can use this, 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 this. This basically say when you are in development, this is the address of the ERC20 that we have deployed. When we are in POP or Passed Hub, this is the address where we have deployed. We have not deployed in POP or Passed Hub, so maybe we can just remove this. We only have deployed the ERC20 in the development account. Okay, so now we can see it's not the compiler is not complaining here because ERC20 now exists. So let's replace certain things. What do we want to query for the ERC20 token? Let me open the smart contract here, so we are familiar with the smart contract that we are gonna interact with. I see more questions. So Inkaton is a framework for developing front-end UI. Yes, exactly. Inkaton is a framework to develop the whole decentralized application, the whole DApp, the whole front-end UI. Yeah. Okay, so with the ERC20 token, we see the storage has the total supply, the balance, and the allowances. So maybe we can query the total supply here. So let's change here instead of the Flipper state. Now we want to have the total supply. Instead of set Flipper state, set total supply. That's where we are gonna using the PAPI SDK, create revive SDK. So here we are using the ERC20. We replace the Flipper with ERC20. Same here, we can call dep because we only have one chain, which is the development chain. And then here we are going to query the storage. What we do is contract, get the storage, get root, and here we get the storage, and we set the storage using this. So the good part where we have been generating the metadata and the description is that the compiler here is going to help us to interact with the smart contract. So for example, storage result value. So if we see here, we can see all the options that we have. We can take the allowance, the balance, and the total supply from the storage, which is basically in the smart contract, basically the storage of the smart contract. So as we say, we want to query the total supply. I was expecting a Boolean, so now let's expect an any. Let's don't care about the type now. Let's comment and handle flip the interaction with the execution of the call. Let's comment that for now, that button that we had before. Let's replace here instead of flipper, let's call it ERC20 contract. Same, instead of flip state now, we are gonna want to show the total supply. The address, we probably want to still see the ERC20 address in development chain. And we might probably remove these two. We don't need to see the language and the compiler now. So I save now, and we can see here, and we can see in development with Alice the total supply of the contract, which is 100K, which is the number that we set up when we initialize the contract. We see the address of the contract that we just deployed. It's the same as this one that we saw in the events. So yeah, using how easy is to just replacing what was in the template, in the boilerplate, how easy is to just with a couple of changes you already interacting with a total different contract that we just created and deployed, in this case the ERC20. Let's make something a bit more complicated or more fun. Let's call one of the functions in the ERC20. We can query the balance of an account, or we can transfer funds to that account, and we can have everything in the front end. So yeah, let's have this button again, but now instead of call the flip, we're gonna call it transfer. So we uncomment the function that we had before. And now we're gonna call this method. This method before in the boilerplate was to flip the value. Now we are gonna do a proper transfer. Again, we replace that with ERC20. We replace all the flipper with ERC20. Let's call it only development. That's what it's gonna check is if the account is mapped or not. If it's not mapped, it's gonna show an error. And here, that's the part that is gonna handle how to send the transactions to the blockchain and to the smart contract. So here we call transfer, which is basically this transfer message, and then we'll see that we need to and value. But we'll see that the compiler, it will already told us that you need the to and value. So data, the data that we need for the call, and it's saying, you are missing the to and the value. So let's start the to. The to is gonna be the account that we want to send to transfer the funds. We can specify this in a constant, maybe here. Let's do it to Bob. This is the Bob address. So let's send this. Let's send this to Bob. I have here. Okay. If we send here Bob, it's gonna complain. It's gonna say, hey, you are passing us a strings. We need like a big size binary because it's an account what we are expecting. it's a H160, which is an account. So let's convert that into binary from X, and then we have the 2. Okay, now the data is complaining that we need the value. So again, as we did before for the value, we need to specify it with that format and the value. So everything seems green now. We're gonna have the button. If we go here, we're gonna have the button transfer, and if we click, it's gonna do the transfer. But maybe let's start something here where we can see the balance of Bob before the transfer and after the transfer. So let's do a query into this function, balance of, passing Bob as a parameter. We go here, we can uncomment that. That was previously before, how to query a contract. In the origin here, we want not get, we want to call the balance of. We want to use the signer address. There is complaining because signer address can be string or indefinite, so we have to be sure that it's not indefinite before do that. And now we need, as before, the data. So the compiler is already gonna, of the ink SDK, the compiler is already gonna tell us, hey, you need the owner, because we need to pass the owner to get this balance of. So let's get the owner as we did before, using Bob. And now it's okay. So we are getting the balance here, and then we need here a hook to get the balance, the Bob balance. So we can call it Bob balance and set Bob balance, and here we call set Bob balance balance. So here we say the Bob balance. So now we want to show that here. We want to show that in the front end, so we can copy this, paste this, and say, okay, the title of this is going to be the balance of Bob, and Bob balance, that's the value. So now we can see in the front end, the balance of Bob is 0. So the total supply is that. The balance of Alice, we can do the same to get the balance of Alice, but the balance of Alice is the total supply, because this is how it's specified in the smart contract. So let's do a transfer. I have to sign and sign the transaction. The transaction goes through, and now we can see the balance in Bob, which is the 100,000. So yeah, I don't know if there is any question, but you see how from a boilerplate that we just download with a few change here, we can change the blockchain that we are calling to use development in this case, but with the same apply can be with the same changes that I made. It can apply to have the Polkadot network, the Kusama network, or whatever network you want to connect. The same with the smart contract. We replace the flipper with our custom smart contract, which is the ERC20. And then we have had here more information on how to query the balance, how to query the total supply, and how to interact with it with a transfer. Any question? Has anyone tried? Well, if there is no more questions, that was it for the workshop. I encourage you guys to test it, because yeah, for me, like the last year, it has improved a lot, the front-end development here. So now we can build really cool stuff with little time as comparison as before, because the boilerplate already managed how to interact with the blockchain, it managed how to connect your wallet, and it already shows you how to interact with a contract. Other options that we have, but yeah, I don't want to show that here because it might be too long. But other options that we have in Ink is that you can use the front-end tooling too. So you can, if you scan this QR code, you can see the tutorial that we created to how to build the Ink smart contract. Well, let me show you the documentation, so it will be easy for you to follow. So basically here, this is the ink docs. Here you can go down and check the integration SDKs. If you go to the JavaScript, the core libraries, you can see everything that I explained before. So you see the Polkadot API SDK, the Dedot SDK, the Polkadot JS, then you can see the React hook libraries, the reactive dot, the Inkaton, and all different front-end components that we have in Ink. And here in Ethereum compatibility, you can see the tutorial that we built to how you can build your smart contract with the Solidity metadata, which is that tutorial is step by step how to do it. But basically, you can use the Solidity and specify the metadata, and then you can use MetaMask to interact with this contract, or you can use Hardhat, or you can use WAGMI to build the front end. So this is more or less how it looks like. It's very self-explanatory. If anyone wants to follow that because it's more used to use EVM tooling, I encourage you to test that and to let me know any feedback, because I already the one that built this tutorial, so I'm happy with any feedback that you can provide. Um, yeah, that's it. A bit more information. I might send you here a bit more links in the chat. This is the PopCLI documentation, which is very cool. And again, I'm one of the main maintainers of PopCLI, so I encourage you to give me
I
feedback.
think, I think we might benefit from you sharing the the slides, right? Since the
Okay.
slide has the
Okay.
links.
Yeah, maybe make more sense. Yeah. Yeah,
Then
probably makes more sense.
there is something when I scan the QR code that you shared, right? It took me to, but it's telling me page not found. I don't know why.
Do you got this QR code?
I don't know.
Okay, let me share the I
Yeah.
can share the link because yeah, I don't know. The link of this QR code is
Mm.
here. Is
You
the
can put the link
yeah,
on the slide too.
yeah, okay.
I think one thing you can do is just all the links you share. Maybe you just put them on one slide.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. That's here.
I mean, right? I feel like there are some. If there are some links you
I think you're frozen now. I cannot hear you. Yeah, I cannot hear you.
yes, you guys. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Hello?
Uh, well, I don't know. I cannot hear you. Let me finish. Let me continue with the last slide, which is I just want to mention that we have an incubator, which is an initiative to fund different projects building in Ink. So Again, I'm gonna share this URL here, but you can scan this QR code. But basically, we want to support attractive projects built on Ink, like with funding and mentorship. So if you have some ideas, you wanna build your project, and you have been testing Ink in the previous workshops, please apply. I'm gonna show you how it looks. I'm gonna share the link now here, and I'm gonna show you how to apply. Incubator.
Hey guys, can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now. Yeah.
All right, all right. So I was
Okay.
saying, in case you remember any link that you shared that is not on the slide, you could just add it on the slide to the slide for when you share the slide again. So everything will be in the same place.
Okay, but yeah, all the links that I shared in the chat are in the slide. Just let me share. Anyone with access, anyone with a link. Okay, so now you guys can access the slides, and the slides has the links.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Please, can
And yeah,
someone just share the slide with me to this thing again? Because when I got disconnected, I lost the chat.
okay, yeah, I can share you. Yeah, I will share with you
All right.
on Telegram or here in
Yeah,
the chat. Or here in the chat, you can see it again.
yeah, I've seen it. So there's one question I have. When we deployed some contracts on Passet Hub, right? So for example, I gave the students an assignment, right, for them to deploy a contract on Passet Hub. Okay.
Mhm.
But and I told them, okay, I told them to add the contract to their repo, push a repo, right? But there was no way for me to confirm that they actually deployed it, except if they sent a screenshot, right? So I went to one block explorer that I found for Passet Hub, but
Yeah,
I couldn't see
yeah.
the
So
stuff.
the most basic explorer is the Polkadot GS app. So you can see everything from here. You can connect to Polkadot, well, you can connect to all the chains around the Polkadot ecosystem, but you can connect to the Passet Hub. So you can go here to Paseo and then connect to Passet Hub. It will connect, and here you can with this send, like, you can go and query all the state that you want. So all the contracts are stored into the palette revive. So here you can see all the contract information. If they give you the address, you can check here directly with the address. Revive
Okay.
contract info and pass the address, and then you can confirm that the contract is deployed.
Okay. So once I put the address there to highlight, it will become green. That's how I confirm. Or will it show some information?
Yeah, so I don't know. Let me try if I try with the address, yeah, I can see the whole list of contracts that are deployed. So if I try now with like a random address that I can take from here, you can see one. So you can find it, and then you can see the information like the code hash and the deposit that the person pay, etc., etc. And if you get the hash, you can get more information. You can get the code information of this smart contract, where you can see the address of the owner who deployed the smart contract.
Okay. Thank you so much.
So I can write you down these instructions if you want later, but basically you can go here uh, in this link, and then you have here Passet Hub, so you can explore with the address. When they pass you the address of the hash, you can query the information of the contracts.
All right. Thanks.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone has any interest in developing in ink. Please feel free to reach out to me. You, Femi, you probably have my Telegram, so if someone asks you, you can share the Telegram, no problem. Otherwise, we have a Telegram for ink that you can join. It's in. Let me try to find it. It should be. It should be in the website. Get in touch. Yeah. So you can join here on Telegram, and it's a channel dedicated to ink. So you can just share whatever there because there is a bunch of developers that are very excited to share ideas or to help or support new developers. Um, yeah, that's it. I hope was fun enough, and I wish you try and build some cool things.
All right. Thank you so much. Let me stop the recording at this point. I don't think anyone has a question, so I'll stop the recording. There's no question. And